When it comes to running, it all appears to be pretty simple. Just put your sneakers on and set off. You don't need a coach, and there's nothing to fear, right? Ugh. Aloha, sportsmen! Today we're going to try to understand why you should always warm up before running. Here are two buckets. This one is filled with cold water. And let's chuck in some ice. And this one contains hot water. Right now, I'm going to put my hands in them for 5 minutes. My right hand really hurts. The painful sensations that I'm experiencing right now are actually caused by the muscles contracting and pressing on the nerves. As a muscle stiffens, it loses some elasticity, so movements get harder. We've all been in a situation where we're outside and we can't clench our fist or zip up our coat because it's freezing. And as for my left hand, I can say that a little heat doesn't hurt indeed. I can clench my left fist much faster. I'm gonna try to do this simple exercise where you repeatedly open and close your fist. You can see that my warm hand is moving much faster and it's much easier for me to move my fingers. But it's not just because cold muscles are less elastic and lose their range of motion. When you're cold, your body redirects your blood flow inward to protect your vital organs. At the same time, the blood vessels in your hands and feet contract. This is why your hands feel numb when you're cold and you want to bring them towards your warm body. But there's one more reason why your extremities feel numb, and that's because your nervous system slows down a little. Your body does that in order to save energy, and also because your body is clever, to prevent you from making abrupt movements and thereby injure yourself. This is why nerve impulses travel slower between your neurons. And by the way, this is also why you may feel sleepy when you're cold. But when you're working out, numb extremities are the last thing you need, and you also want to keep your nervous system firing all cylinders. This is why it's so important to get your nervous system going and your blood moving before you start exercising. How many times can you squeeze a tennis ball in 1 minute? Let's see how I manage. 3, 4, 5. Whoop! Whew. You know what? I should have measured my heart rate, because it was really hard. My hands are tired and my muscles are sore. And I'm sweating. This should give you an idea of the force with which your heart contracts. In my video on slow running, I told you that during slow runs, my heart rate was about 135 beats per minute. Here, I've been squeezing this ball just for 1 minute and I got really tired. And during my slow runs, my heart beats like this for 2 or even 3 hours, a crazy amount of pumps. Now imagine that you suddenly start running. It'd make your heart rate skyrocket to about 160 beats per minute, which would put a significant load on your heart. A warm-up before running dilates or expands your blood vessels and makes it easier for your heart to pump blood, because it's much easier to pump blood through vessels when they are wide. That's why it's essential to warm up your whole system, just like you would warm up your car engine before driving. But your heart isn't the only reason not to put the pedal to the metal from the get-go. Your cartilage stores synovial, or joint fluid, and when the joint is active, the fluid is squeezed out to lubricate the cartilage. Synovial fluid reduces friction between the cartilages, even under heavy physical load. And now let's say you put a sudden and significant load on your joint. Nothing extraordinary. You simply leap over a bump. Where's this essential joint lubrication? This is how you wear your joints out. And we're not just talking about your knees here. When you're running, you're putting load on all of your foot joints, your hip joints, your intervertebral discs, and so on. All these cartilages must have a significant amount of lubrication. But that's not all. In addition to preparing your heart, muscles, and joints, you should also warm up your ligaments and tendons. Our foot, for instance, has 33 joints, 20 muscles, and more than 80 tendons and ligaments. Sometimes people don't know the difference between these two things. So tendons and ligaments are connective tissues. As the term suggests, they connect some things together. Ligaments connect bone to bone, and tendons connect bone to muscle. Here's a link of sausages. As you can see, each sausage is wrapped in plastic. Now imagine that this sausage is your muscle. The casing is a fascia, and this twisted part is a tendon that attaches this muscle to the bone. When a muscle contracts, the force is transmitted through the tendon to move the bone. Tendons are elastic, which means they can bend but they won't stretch. If tendons stretched, it would result in the loss of energy, and consequently, it would make energy transmission from the muscle to the bone rather chaotic. Both tendons and ligaments are composed of collagen and elastin. Collagen gives them strength and elastin gives them flexibility. Besides connecting bones to one another, ligaments have two more important functions. They absorb shock and act like coil springs. But cold tendons and ligaments lose some of their damping ability. There's a saying, where something is stiff, that's where it breaks. So if you don't want your ligaments to quote-unquote break, they have to be elastic. Their elasticity largely depends on temperature. When they're cold, ligaments become very vulnerable, and both injured ligaments and tendons take a long time to heal, a few months in some cases. So, once you've sprained a ligament, you never know how long your recovery could take. That's why, after all I've told and showed you today, my message is, please don't skip the warm-up. Make sure you always include it in your running routine. It doesn't have to be a complex set of exercises. Something as simple as 10 or 15 minutes of slow intensity running will be enough. And now a question for you. And the question is, why after everything I've just said about the importance of warm-ups, 80% of the time I don't actually warm up before my running drills? Put your answers in the comments.